Alright everybody, I'm going to talk to you about vagus nerve stimulation. It's kind of a buzzword in the last few years. It was only discovered almost by accident less than 10 years ago, and it's been found to have remarkable healing properties. It concerns the vagus nerve, one of the so-called cranial nerves, and it runs around the neck here, down the side, just behind the carotid artery, in fact. Runs down the neck and then into the body, and it covers, its name means, like vagus means wandering, same word as vagrant, and it's a wandering nerve, but it goes to all organs, you know, the heart, the liver, the lungs, the kidneys, stomach, intestines, and so on. And it's very important because it carries properties that we call parasympathetic innervation. That's from the autonomic nervous system. The parasympathetic part is the quietening part. Sympathetic is where we tend to live most of these days, you know, flight or fight, energized, stressed, pushed. There's too much cortisol. It's not very good for us. It's a bad thing being too sympathetic. You need it, obviously, if your saber-toothed tiger walks around the corner of the building, you're going to want to run like hell, so it would be very valuable. But in the modern world, it's much more valuable to be calm and soothing and collected. The parasympathetic state is what brings that about. So you've got fight or flight on one side, and you've got the eat, sleep, digest, calm, you know, the relaxed side is the other system called the parasympathetic system. Well, the vagus nerve carries the parasympathetic nervous system message, if you like, to the body. It's calming and it's soothing and it's anti-inflammatory. So it's been found that stimulating the vagus nerve is, I'll explain all this in a minute, okay? Stimulating the vagus nerve is a very good way of settling down inflammation, which is great for a whole host of diseases and pains. You know, most pain is inflammation. Well, all pain is inflammation of some kind. So it's a very good thing to do, and we need vagus nerve. It's called vagal tone. The vagus nerve needs to be able to stand up against the sympathetic nervous system, the adrenals, and the flight or fight response, okay? So here we've got an electronic device, electromagnetic device, by the people called V-Light. They run an up-the-nose stimulator for blood thinning properties and other ways of working as an anti-inflammatory red light or laser stimulation device. So it's very good in that sense. But they also have these are not, you can get vagus nerve stimulators just like this. They sit over the vagus nerve, but they are driven by electrical impulses. They won't hurt. I'm not trying to scare you off electricity. But the V-Light people have come up with what I think is a better idea, which is to use infrared light to gently stimulate the vagus nerve here. So you put it around your neck, switch on, and it will run for 20 minutes automatically and then switch off. And you can see that it's possible to do things like read a book, you know, work on the computer, or even shoot a video while you're working this equipment. This little piece might need explaining. Some of you are familiar with it, but it's the idea of presenting light into the upper part of the back of the pharynx, the back of the nose. There's a very thin, it's called the ethmoid plate, and a very thin layer of bone there. Because light can actually penetrate into the skull, never mind through a thin plate at the back of the nose. So the light from this thing, which is also another quality of infrared light, is taken right up into what we call the prefrontal cortex. That's where our thinking processes take place, our cognitive abilities. But there's also another significance to the nose, what's called the olfactory bulb. And it's the smelling organ that comes forward from the brain. What's that got to do with anything? Well, actually, if you're smart, you probably know that smell is one of the most powerful stimulators of memory. You know, you get a whiff of something, it will take you back 20 years, 50 years to something that happened. It's an extremely powerful memory trigger. So this is great for preserving cognitive abilities too, as well as sort of de-stressing, calming, parasympathetic. It's actually also got cognitive enhancement properties. Anyway, yeah, I've dealt with, ever since 2015, with the first sensational paper in Scientific American, I've been dealing with vagus nerve stimulation since then. And a lot of you will know that I've championed the Vatsia device, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant microcurrent therapy, it's called, and is great for pain and wound healing. And we also recommend it's very useful for vagus nerve stimulation. But now with this device from the company called V-Light in Canada, it's simplified. You just boil it down to the vagus nerve stimulation part, and it's not as fancy. It does vagus nerve stimulation beautifully. That's what it's designed to do, but that's all it does. So it's a lot cheaper. It's $700 or so, and is a really good investment. Like a lot of electronic devices, and unlike medicines and therapies, a whole bunch of people can share. You know, if you got one of these, your mum, your dad, your sister, your brother, your kids, your grandkids, your grandma, all of these people can all use the same device and get benefits from it. It's just a question here of putting it around your neck, like I said, stick the infrared lamp up your hooter, and then switch on. Then you can get on with something else. Absolutely brilliant. Nobody in this day and age of hyper stimulation and hyperactivity can possibly be without a vagus nerve stimulator. You have to have one. It can be life-saving. It can calm and chill a person who's in a frenzy until they're relaxed and healthy again. You can measure that in terms of things like heart rate variability. It's one of the number one measures of how long you're going to live. You know, how stressed are you? Heart rate variability, they always said it's got to be fixed, must be constant. You know, that was science, and it was bullshit. Because it actually turns out the opposite. The only healthy thing is a variable heart rate. It can shift and move up and down it can adapt, in other words. We don't want fixed heart rate variability. We want variable heart rate variability. And this device is brilliant at producing that. So there you go. Off you go. You can go and Google vagus nerve stimulation. You can go and Google HRV, heart rate variability, and you realize that you need one of these. We all need one. I put my scruffy old shirt on just so that you can see it more clearly. But they're easy to wear, easy to use, and they're good for you. You'll live longer. All right, take care. Bye.